Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. We will start our class with Swami Vivekananda's quote. Now we are going to look at money and banking, which is an integral part of paper 1 of economics option. Now we are going to start with money. Theory of money demand and theory of money supply are the major portions of money. So under this money demand, there are 6 subtopics, like Fisher's equation of quantity theory of money, later Cambridge cash balance theory, it is also given by the classical economists Hicks and Hansen. Later, which was revised by Keynes Liquidity Preference Theory, he has given speculative demand. Like money demand will also be a function of interest rate, which we will be going to look at in detail in a later video. So Baumol's theory of inventory model is also about the transaction demand, but transaction demand is a function of interest rate. So that is what given by the Baumol's theory of inventory model. Later, which was revised by Tobin's portfolio balance model. Tobin's nothing but an extension of Baumol's model. So he has included the other portfolios as well. He has said money will be one of the portfolio of the assets which people hold. Then Friedman's new QTM. So Fisher's QTM, it was revised because he has given the rigorous definition, the function of money demand. So just it is considered to be new QTM, which has further given rise to monetarism. Now we are going to look at Fisher's equation, that is quantity theory of money. Actually, it is not a money demand theory, it is a money supply theory. He suggested to the policymakers what is the optimum level of money supply should be there to make the economics liquidity stable. Right? Here is our American classical economist, Irving Fisher. He has given the identity money supply into velocity of transaction is equal to price level into number of transactions. Velocity of transaction is the number of times the money exchanges hands. Right? Like the doubt which have come to me and which also arises in many students' mind is velocity of transaction and number of transactions, it might seem same. It will be same if you use the smaller denominations. Like for example, if a 10 rupees coin is there, if I give 10 rupees coin and exchange this marker, then if you use the same 10 rupees to buy a pencil or a pen, so to the third person, so number of transaction of the 10 rupee coin is 2. The number of transaction is also 2. It might look same here. That is where the confusion arises. But actually, if you use the larger denominations, for example, if the real economy, obviously there will be many like 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 100, it will be larger number of denominations will be there. But there is a general thing is, every time the transaction happens, money will circulate hands. That is true. But will the same money circulate hands in every transactions? Absolutely not. For example, if I use the 10 rupee coin to exchange this marker, you might use 20 rupees coin or 100 rupees. Velocity of 10 rupees is 1 only, but the transaction happens are 2. So this is how it is differing. Like velocity of transaction and the number of transactions are differing in this way. But later he revised this equation into money supply into income velocity is identical to price into output. He realized that the money supply need not be in such a way it need to meet all the number of transactions in an economy. Because for this year, if money is printed to the amount of goods produced and the transaction happening, the next year the money supply is needed only to meet the newly produced goods transaction, because once produced will become second hand goods, so it will be in excess of money supply only. So he made it an optimum solution and found this identity money into income velocity will be identical to price into output, right? And it is an identity because it holds true in all cases. Then the velocity of money supply, that is Vy, it is constant. That is why we have drawn a bar. He has said constant because there are two factors which affects the velocity of money supply. For example, like institutional factors, the banking habits of the people, the accessibility of banking, these determine these institutional factors. These are the institutional factors which determines the velocity of money demand, money supply. Then he said it to be constant because at this time institutional factors like banking at this time was fledgling state. This Irving Fisher, he has given this theory after the post second industrial revolution. At that time banking was fledgling stage, so there will be not much fluctuations. Then technological factors will be like digital banking, then UPI, then BIM. So these kind of digital banking are not being seen by this Irving Fisher at that time. So he assumed that velocity of money supply will be constant for 30 to 35 years for a long period of time. So he assumed that to be constant. Then the assumptions like perfect competition in the economy, classical dichotomy, that means like real factors will affect the other real factors, and nominal factors only affect the nominal output. So that holds true here as well, because he is a classical economist. He holds all the assumptions of classical theories. And there are certain criticisms of this Irving Fisher also, this quantity theory of money. Like many economists have criticized this theory as mechanical theory, because he only said that to the policymakers this much should be the money supply and to the nominal output. But actually he did not define why that money will be demanded by the people, how much will be demanded by the people. He had a large assumption that whatever money is supplied, it will be demanded by the people. Is it so? Actually it is not. Because if money is demanded, some will be saved, some will be hoarded. So that hoarding part of money supply, it has not been considered by this Fisher. Fine. Then that is a mechanical theory criticism. Then second criticism is output. He assumed output to be constant over the period, because he does not know about the financial transactions at that time. Only he knows about the goods market. Then price. He said price, like he said general price, but he did not give a rigorous definition for it. Whether it is CPI or WPI, retail price or wholesale price, or whether it is a combined average price level or it is weighted average, he did not give a rigorous definition of what price index he has taken. Then velocity of transaction, like velocity of money supply, that also is, that constancy will not also hold true in this real world. That's it about. Now we are going to see the second theory of money demand, that is Cambridge cash balance theory. They have told money demanded will be the proportion of nominal GDP. Okay, they have given the proportion of nominal GDP, that is P into Y. Here you can easily see that money demand is a function of nominal GDP, but it is an inverse relation because only it is corrected later by Hicks and Hansen. And if you see, they have given money demand here and nominal GDP here. So if this has been changed, they also told the rate of change will also change. For example, the rate of change of money demand in proportion of change of nominal GDP will be K. It is not 1 by K. It has been corrected by Hicks and Hansen. You can see Hicks is a neo-Keynesian. Despite that, it is called as Cambridge theory because they have told it to be a linear function only. Money demand function is a linear. Next, there is a we need to understand what is K and what defines K. But Cambridge theory did not define. There is no rigorous definition of K. They have just told it is a return on other assets. They did not say what are the other assets, whether it is a equity, whether it is a debenture, whether it is a cash, gold, whatever. They did not say about what are the other assets, what determines the assets, what will be the impact of that will be there on the money demand. So they did not clearly define it. So there is not of much importance to the policy making variable. Next, if you see the nature of K, it is highly volatile. They are told it is a constant proportion, but it is a volatile because here it is assumed to be parametric constant, right? Then it is volatile because it fluctuates with the change in returns on other assets as well. It is not a mechanically determined theory because there is an involvement of behavioral quotient. How people react to the changes, that is whether it is interest rate, whether it is a dividend received, like how people react to the returns on the other assets. So based on that behavioral quotient only, this K will be determined. So it is not a mechanically determined equation like Fisher's equation. Because Fisher said it is completely identical, but here it is just an equation. Criticisms of cash balance theory is like it is concave, like money demand function is not linear, it has been concave to x-axis. Why? As you increase the nominal GDP, it is not, the proportionate will not be always constant. As you increase beyond a point, the demand for the money will be less proportionate. So it will be concave to the x-axis. Why? Hicks and Hansen has given a empirical evidence also. They have taken the data from UK and US between 1915 to 1939. Based on that, they have given this conclusion. It will be concave to x-axis. That is, money demand function will be the function of nominal GDP only, but it will be concave. Then K, it is not rigorously defined. As I said, they did not say what determines it and what are the fluctuations, how people reacted. Like rigorous definition is not there, which has been later corrected by Friedman. If you see, he has given a very much rigorous function of K, which we will be looking at the later video. You must also remember the differences between the two demand theory, which we studied last, like two sections. Like first theory of money demand is Fisher's equation, the second theory is Cambridge equation. Both are classicals only, but there are certain differences between them. For example, Fisher equation is a theory of money supply. They have suggested to the policymakers how it is the optimum money supply should be there in order to make the liquidity of the economy stable. They do not say how the money will be demanded and how what will be the determinants of money demand. But Cambridge theory has clearly said about like it will be a money demand function. This is actually first classical theory who have given the money demand function. Then the second differences between them is Cambridge assumed K to be volatile. He did not assume anything to be constant, but Fisher said velocity of transactions and that output, it will be remaining constant over the long period of time. So that constant and variable, that differences are there. Third function is, it is about behavioral of quotient of the people. But Fisher is completely mechanically determined. They have given, like money demand will be determined based on a formula, that is determined. M into Vt is equal to P into T. So it is completely an identical theory. That there is no role for behavioral quotients, but here there is a role of behavior of the people as well. So these are the three differences of Fisher and Cambridge. Now we are going to see the third theory of money demand, that is Keynes Liquidity Preference Theory. He has given L is equal to Ky minus Hi. Here L is money demand, K is income sensitivity of money demand, Y is income, and H is interest sensitivity of money demand, and I is interest rate. So he showed that money will be demanded, which will be in relation to the level of income, that is level of output, and the level of interest rate, and it is positively related to income and negatively related to interest rate. That is what he has tried to say. And for money demand, there are three things: transaction demand, precautionary demand, speculative demand. If you see transactional demand, people will need money for the purpose of exchanges, for the purpose of transactions, right? So he said when your income increases, your demand for other goods will also increase, so that you need more money for the transaction purposes. So that is why transaction demand for money, MD, is positively related. Then precaution demand for money. For example, if you know, I'll ask you a question. During COVID, who has lost much? Like lost their wealth, lost their shares much? It's obviously rich, not the poor. Yes, the poor's, their living standard has been worsened. But people who have much only can lose much, right? People who have invested in financial stock market, share markets, they are the people who have lost due to the shocks. So people who have much, as the people become rich, they will be cautious of these like sudden shocks, and so they will always have some amount of money in hand for the precautionary like contingency needs. For example, banks also, you would have heard about cash in vault. They also have, there will be if there's a bank run, that means all depositors will come at the same time to withdraw the deposits. So at those times when during the contingency, liquidity and instability, banks will need some cash, some liquidity in order to make compensate the initial shocks. So that is why cash in vault, that is one of the example of precaution demand for money. Then as you become rich, obviously you would have easily seen in the society that people who are rich are much insured. There you would have car insurance, life insurance, health insurance, a lot of insured people. So their precaution demand will always be increasing in relation to, that is positively related to the income, level of income. So that is why we have combined KY as that these two demand for money will be coming under this KY. It will subsume it. Then HI shows about the speculative demand. For example, if the price of the bond in the market, this bond market, if the price of the bond is high, that means yield of the bond is low. People will expect that in future the demand, like the price of the bond might reduce, the yield might increase, the interest rate might increase. So they will hold money in order to invest in future. That is speculative demand for money. Actually, we must understand a basic concept. What is demand for money? It is demand for liquid money. How much money people wish to hold in cash. That is called like demand for money, actual definition. So based on that, speculative, precaution and transactions, yes, equally divided. So if you see, there are certain criticisms also for this Keynes theory, because Keynes was generally during the time of Great Depression only he has given this theory, where he has used this theory to explain liquidity trap. When he said there will be infinite speculation, that means if the price of bond is high, every people will expect that it will reduce much in the future. So everyone hold cash. They will never go to the bond market. So LM curve in ISLM model, if you see, that will be horizontal. So there will be no change in monetary policy. That is why fiscal, like Keynes, he always bolsters, he supports the fiscal policy and government's expenditure, right? So the first criticism is there is no explanation for behavioral factors. Like people are different, they are not same. Suppose if I am a person who have like a good amount of decent wealth and fiscal assets. For example, I have house, I have other real estate, and for example, if I am backed with particularly decent wealth, I'll be very sure of that. So even if the market is not doing well, I'll be ready to invest. There's a common notion, right? Not everyone in the market is going to invest or going to withdraw. So not everyone are same. So that differences is being missed by Keynes. Keynes do not consider the people as risk liking, like risk loving, risk neutral, or risk averse, right? So people are not actually same, so that is being missed. Then addition of different factors. Here if you see transaction demand, precautionary demand, speculative, here added as though transaction demand is red money, precautionary demand is blue money, speculative demand is green money. But it is not that case. Actually it might be, it gives an impression that every money demanded that it is different types of money, but actually it is not true. For example, if I have infinite speculation demand as given by Keynes, that means the money which I hold for speculation, if there is a need for me for transaction purpose, I use that money for the transaction. So the money which, for example, if my income is 100 rupees, like 50 is for transaction, 20 is for precaution, 30 is speculative. So as though it is that way he has explained it, but it is not that case. The money which I kept for speculation can also be used for transaction. So the money is same, but the demand can be different. But addition of these factors, it might show that it is mutually exclusive, but it is not so. That is one of the criticisms. Then wealth, as you see, he has given only for transaction. That means money, wealth can be held as money or in the bond market. He does not include other assets. For example, there is gold, there is real estate, there are debentures, and many other factors like assets are there, types of assets, which he has missed. Then he also ignores the role of real assets. Real assets, like for example, commodity price. If the commodity price increases, that is during inflation, this cost of market will be 10 rupees. Now it has increased to 20. So now I need more money to purchase this. So for the transaction demand itself, now like demand for money is increased. When the demand is increased, what will I do? I will sell my bond in the bond market to get my money. When I sell my bond, the bond supply will increase. When the bond supply increases, price will reduce. When the price reduces, yield will increase. When yield increases, interest rate will increase. Right? So this, like for example, this real estate is the commodity price will also affect the interest rate. So this is one such example. It has been missed by Keynes, but it is not a mistake of Keynes as such. Because if you see the capitalist notion, like automatic correction ability, if you see the inflation will be automatically corrected. For example, if there's, as I said in the cycle, increase in price of the commodity, increase in money demand, increase in like reduction of price of bond, then increase in interest rate. If there's increase in interest rate, again as the equation gives, there will be reduction of money demand. Reduction of money demand, and the inflation will be automatically corrected. So that is why he has ignored that concept of real assets affecting determining the interest rate. For another such example we can give for this. If the return on gold is increasing, what will I do? I need money to invest that. Same way, the same process goes when I need more money, so I will be going to bond market. Again the same cycle happens when the interest rate will increase. Right? So there will be direct relation between the return on real assets and the interest rates in the bond market as well. So that role of real assets in determining the I, that is interest rate, is being ignored by Keynes. He also ignores the interrelationship of Y and I. For example, he said Y's output is determined by goods market. The interest rate is completely about bond market or money market, that is asset market. He does not know, he doesn't have the mix of two markets, goods market and like bond market, which will be in the later development of Neo Keynes, which we will be studying. This is given by Hicks. Then he also ignored saving as a function of interest rate. He said saving as a function of income, but not function of interest rate. But we know it's a function of income. How? Because Keynes psychological consumption function, it says about MPC, right? Through that we also derive MPS. Like increase in Y, that is increase in output, income, it will also increase the demand, like savings. So that increase was there. If there is increase in interest rate, we will be investing there, our savings will be less. So, but that function is being ignored by Keynes. So these are the criticism which they have mentioned here, and I would like to add an example how volatile the market would be and how different people will behave differently in the share markets. As which is the like first criticism of Keynes, which showed like different behavior of the people in different times. I'll just give an example. When a person invests in India in 2007, prior to the subprime crisis in 2008, when the share market was at 21,000 value, it has undergone a lot of volatility over the years. It has decreased to 7.5, that is 7,500 in 2009, and 24,000 in 2012, and 21,000 again in 2014. Again it has increased to 26,000 in 2016, which has risen to 62,000 now. Suppose a person who has invested over a long term time period, for example over a 15-16 years, he would be getting a decent return. But why people sometimes incur losses? They come in, they exit at the wrong time. So when is the right time to exit the market? When your driver asks you, how much do I need to invest? No disrespect, it has been said by HDFC chairman Deepak Parekh sir. He has told, like, it has been a symbolic reference that people who don't know about the market, they start investing. It creates a bubble. The bubble will automatically one day get burst. So this is the time when generally people need to get out of the markets. Okay, so this volatility and this people's different behavior to different circumstances have been completely ignored by Keynes. So just I'm giving an additional information on this. That's it. Thank you.